Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today is a very special episode. We're welcoming back onto the show Elisa Parker, and who is now an author in our most recently released book, Mission Matters. It's volume 1 we did with Women Connect4Good and Dr. Nancy. And let me tell you, we've been working on this book for the last year, maybe a little bit more, putting it together. We did a book launch in DC at Gloria Felt's event, who is one of the authors. And I mean, we've been touring, we're doing all kinds of stuff. But first off, Elisa, welcome back to the show. It's so good to see you.
Hi, Adam. It's so great to be here. And yeah, it's been an extraordinary journey, hasn't it? Even just this last year or so in the evolution of the book.
We're in 2025 now, and I definitely want to catch up, and we'll get into the book, of course, and much more. But just to get us kicked off, we'll start this interview the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So, Lisa, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, for executives, for thought leaders, for experts. Like, that's our mission. Lisa, what mission matters to you?
My mission right now is for myself and for all of us, just to encourage you to show up in your best self. And what I mean with that is with creativity, connection, collaboration, and catalyze. It's time to catalyze.
That's a lot of
catalyze. No, my mission's still in my best life right now, Adam. Honestly, with joy and love and grace and ease, and let's add some fun and equity in there too.
I think I might have to add to my mission some C's, some alliteration. You got me on that one. That's good.
There's lots of C's.
So we're in 2025. I've been asking a lot of people this, and you tell me resolutions, not resolutions, goals, otherwise. Like what in general, what do you think about as you start a new year?
Oh my gosh. Well, Adam, first of all, I mean, this year, it's unprecedented, really, right? I mean, we're in unprecedented times. So in thinking about resolutions, and I mean, honestly, it was a big blow with the elections, if I'm being honest about it. I think myself, along with others, have been in this moment of reflection and really culminating how I want to best show up right now. And so I've really honestly been just taking a breath for myself, a moment to think, how am I going to show up? And honestly, like, my mission right now and resolution is to show up with my family and creativity. I mean, we're going to talk about creativity, I think, quite a bit in this one, but for me right now, it is music and how do we incorporate that? Because it helps define, I mean, music and storytelling defines our culture. It shapes our culture, right? And to me right now, that is so imperative, especially this year, especially for women, for people of color, for other people who are underrepresented right now, as we move into a new political spectrum in this crazy multiverse, right? So, I mean, that's all I can hope for really for myself, is that I think it's going to be in an amazing, extraordinary, and full, all the things this year. I don't know if that answers your question about resolutions, but
No, it doesn't. Not everybody makes a resolution. I was just curious about what's normally on your mind as you go into the new year. For me, it's normally a lot of planning, a lot of other things, of course, like everybody else. So I'm just being nosy. It's what I do.
It's okay. You could be. I'm going to make some music, and I'm going to collaborate with some amazing people like yourself, like the incredible.
I love it. I love putting the intentionality out there, for sure.
Collaboration is key, and doing that in the best way possible.
Speaking of collaboration, I guess that's a great transition you teed up. Let's get a little bit into what you wrote and into maybe some of the inspiration for this. So first off, your writing in the book was titled "The Freedom to Live Your Own Best Life and Show Up for Her." A lot of things you could have written about. What inspired this particular topic?
You know, Adam, following the pandemic, my life's mission, as we're talking about mission and resolutions, really has been about showing up in justice and equity for women. It's been my work for over 20 years. I've done that through CJ Do, and creating a media platform for women in events,
Mhm.
and partnering with amazing people, including the mobilization Tiffany Schlane and I did recently. And, for this, the pandemic kind of hit me hard. It hit me sideways.
Mhm.
Everything stopped. All my projects, everything I had been working on. We're getting ready for a new cohort in Hollywood that focused on creating equity in the industry. And when everything stopped, it was taking that moment and thinking, am I going to continue to do this again? Is this my life? I don't know if others thought about that, but I mean, I reconnected again at a greater level with the natural world. I reconnected again with my voice and singing and music. That has been part of my entire existence, and started to listen to that again. So I really just started listening and getting back in. We talked about the ERA. It's mentioned in the book, the Equal Rights Amendment, getting in with the ERA Coalition, getting back into that and storytelling. It really was a boost for me. And I'm so grateful for my experience with that. And let's hope the ERA is published soon. Come on, Joe Biden. I felt like it was a story. It was my story that was important to be told. And as I talk about show up for her, it was showing up for myself, but also providing tools to help support others, men and women, on how you can show up for yourself as well. Like, it is time. And the freedom to live your own best life is like, the pandemic showed us, like, life is fragile. It's short. Why not make the most of everything you were given? We have everything we need right now to make that happen. You were born with that. You were born with it, Adam, right? And how you show up on this. So when that invitation was given, I was like, I need to dive into my own personal quest and story about why I've been doing this and what it's looking like in the future. It's important right now.
You mentioned that you've been on this path, for a solid, 20 years or a couple decades there. How did you know? And the reason I ask this question is because there's a lot of people out there that are like, it's uncertain times, as you said, a lot of different ways that they can go, and a lot of different people choosing different paths and their actions. How did you know that you were kind of on the right path to be working for and advocating and working towards women's issues? Like, how did you know?
That is such a great question. My partner Chad and I have this term we call sweet synchronicities. Okay, so, and I talk about this a little bit in the book, where I open up my
More
chapter.
alliteration. Now you brought out the S's on me. Go ahead, fine. Give me with your sweet
Synchronicity.
You move from the C to the S. Go ahead.
Here we go. Sweet. Okay, so I open up my chapter with, to listen. And what is your heart singing to you right now? Where do the when and where do the feathers lie on your path? We are in a time right now where, we're all energy, and we attract that energy. We create, right now, you ask about resolutions, but we are creating intentions for ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. And that's so key. So I bring up the sweet synchronicities because I think we are born with certain, what do you want to call it? Like callings, urges in our lives, and that's why I think people, when you ask that question, go back to childhood. It's like, I love to sing and I love to put on shows and bring people together and teach. And I did love that as a child. So it's interesting on how that showed up for me. And so, there's elements that you just know for yourself, right? And then when you think you're on that path, when the feathers are in your path, that's when you're on that path, that's when you start to see the feathers in. That's when you start to see, you're watching TV and the show mentioned something you were just talking about with your partner, right? Those are all signs that you were exactly where you need to be, and follow through with that, right? Because intention also requires action. So, I think that's a key part.
So then it's saying, like, in those early days, you were kind of like getting signs, like you would see things fall into place, or like, is that how it kind of worked? Or
it's such a big and wonderful question. Like, when did you know? I'll tell you this: when I created See Jane Do, I would have things that showed up for me. Like, we moved to a small town from the city, and I had just told my ex-husband, like, I'm going to have a show. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like what you and I were talking about in your, I'm not going to
Let's
talk
put
about
out that
your
intention.
Vegas,
I want everybody
intention,
to know, hey, I want to have a show in Vegas. I've been talking about this.
right?
I'm putting out all kinds of intentionality. And so there you go. Go ahead, continue,
Sometimes
please.
we're an energetic channel. So
I'm
sometimes
throwing out that
right?
energy. Hey, you get
They're
that
putting
Vegas.
it out. So I remember though, this is the crazy thing is like before I moved to this small town in Northern California, I was living in the city, working in training and organizational development. And I told Michael, my ex, I was like, you know what? I am going to have a show. It's probably going to be a radio show. It's probably not going to be commercial. It's going to be like Oprah-like, and it's going to focus on women. Now, mind you, I hadn't done radio since I was in high school.
Wow.
I was fortunate enough where at my high school we had a radio and TV station, and my professor said you should really follow through with this. And then it was like 20 years later.
Yeah.
So I make this declaration for myself. So make a declaration for yourself. And it's not up to us to decide what the details are of getting that. So I say that, fast forward, that year we're living in Nevada City, and all of a sudden I hear this radio station local talk about looking for broadcasters. And I was like, oh, I think that's what I'm supposed to do. And I ended up being one of like I had like I had a primetime show. I did it for 17 years. And when CJ Do happened, I just had that download, like, what about women? What about women? I just started writing and journaling every night. Things would just come to me. And so I think it's really important too, like just to write down, being unscripted and not have barriers. So now, how do I know now? Right. In addition to the sweet synchronicities, I really pay attention, Adam, to what is showing up in my life. Who are the people showing up in my life right now? I've met some extraordinary women and men just recently. And I'm listening to that. And I'm like, we're supposed to make something happen together. We're supposed to co-create something. And then we're holding each other accountable right now to ensure that we are sticking to whatever our true heart's desire and calling is. Right. And for me, right. So as I was mentioning, music and creativity and collaboration and so forth, social justice, I'm paying attention to that. So that's the long roundabout way of answering your question. But
no, it's great. And what I think what it does too is it lets the listeners and the viewers have an opportunity to kind of reflect at those signs in their own lives. Because I think about that all the time. You call it sweet synchronicities. I call it miracles. I call it, just depends on like the like I don't really believe in the whole happenstance of it though. It just happened. And I feel like we get a lot of these signs and things that happen in our life. And if we're really in flow, we're really in tune, that you get to recognize more of them, and sometimes even at a faster pace, like depending on your energy and depending on your vibration.
It's true. And it'll accelerate too when you're in that. So, I mean, even recently, part of the chapter I shared too is always having this dream of like, I'm supposed to live in New York City. Now I'm a West Coaster, California girl. Yeah. Right. But I just knew. And fortunately, my partner.
One less person on the road out here, Dr. Nancy, if you're around, we got a little less traffic. No.
Well, and also like, and unfortunately, my partner had that same dream as well. That sense of knowing, that inner knowing, I'm supposed to live in New York City. Yeah. And so after the pandemic,
I hope a lot more people here have that dream.
I'm bi-coastal, so I'm still over there. I love, you know what, Adam? I love Brooklyn. I love New York.
I love when more people from LA moved to New York. Sorry.
I hope you do, because you know what?
No, I said them. I'm fine. I like it here. I don't want that cold.
You know what though? Here's the deal. I talk about being Spider-Woman, and like my passion is really co-creating community for systemic change and all the goodness of that. And having done that in more recently in my little town for 20 years, I was like, you know what? My dream is to go to New York. After the pandemic, I'm thinking, if not now, when is it going to be? I work remote. The team's over here in DC and New York. Let's go for it. Let's make it happen. And you know what? We did. And so, and it's, so part of that is imagination. Like Bell Hooks says, imagination it's one of the most powerful modes of resistance that oppressed and exploited people can do or use. So we are at a time where you got to imagine the best things for yourself. And like Adam said, then you do need to have action into that, right? So you have intention, you declare it, write it down, tell somebody else, and then there's action. But the right people and resources will show up for you. So I have a spot in Brooklyn now at Brooklyn Bridge Park where we ended up right next to the water, which is what I envisioned, which is really crazy. And I have a spot where I get grounded, I'll meditate, and I throw out my intentions and declarations to the water. It's where the Atlantic, the Hudson, and East River meet.
Yeah.
And it's really crazy, Adam. Like, it's wild that it'll have, like, all of a sudden I'll say it. And there's some, like, you know, even simple ways, like I was going back to California for a trip and I was like, I'd really love somewhere to be, you know, swim in a pool, look at the ocean, and spend time with my girls who are both going to school back there. Literally the next day, a friend who I hadn't talked to in years sent an invitation to come stay at her beautiful home in Santa Monica, has a swimming pool, and my daughters could come as well.
Wow.
On the beach. Isn't that crazy? Sweet synchronicity. But yeah, I didn't want to digress on it, but those are the exciting things.
That's what I wanted. I wanted some goosebumps. You delivered. It's good.
You know,
like,
so there you go.
Like wows. And thank you. What do you hope? And obviously, there's a lot of things in the book and a lot of things in what you wrote. But what are some, like, what is one of like the key either takeaways or even just feelings that you hope that your readers are going to get out of reading your writing?
What I hope that anyone who gets from reading this is, number one, understanding the belief within your heart that anything is possible for you. And like I said earlier, you do have everything you need to make that happen. The other part that I've shared a lot of stories in the chapter about how women are showing up for each other and, you know, in different capacities, like through the cohort in Hollywood, which is still together. It's still a deep sisterhood. I'm going to see some of them on Friday and showing up for each other. Yeah. So the other part of that chapter is how we do show up for each other. And especially for women, I think one of the great, I won't call it a trick, but a tool and resource for this is that when you show up for someone else, you're putting that muscle into action, right? Of what you also want for yourself. So, you know, if you're in a networking situation, you're at dinner, I love to introduce the other women who don't know each other to each other. But it's not just saying, oh, this is Dr. Nancy O'Reilly with Women Connect4Good. It's saying, hey, Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, this is Tiffany Schlane of Let It Ripple. And, you know, Dr. Nancy has done such an extraordinary job of showing up for other women, just published this incredible book, bringing in other women authors. And then Tiffany, you know, who's an incredible artist, and talk about imagination. Like, you two need to know each other, right? That's the next step too. So it's already doing a shout out for, like, this person's amazing, this person's amazing. And then I love to just explore, like, what is the connection for that? Like, what is the deeper connection? So, I mean, that's a big part of that chapter too, is just some tools and techniques and how you can show up for yourself and each other. But I mean, if anything, Adam, too, it's just, I think right now we all need that extra boost of, right? We're in really interesting times right now, and imagination is key. And to show up with wonder and love is essential. And so if my chapter, you know, reading that, you can get that little boost or the goosebumps for yourself. Like, that's all I need for that.
Amazing. Well, Elisa, this has been a lot of fun having you on the show today and getting to finally catch up. It's been a little bit since we last spoke.
I know.
So final question, what's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for 2025?
What's next for 2025? I'm doing some declarations like you have, Adam. So, I mean, here we go. So what's next? I'm really excited about creating a show with both my partner and possibly a couple of other women that is going to be an experience of bringing people in, reminding everyone of what is the essence and the extraordinary, wonderful parts of being human, We're in an AI world, and like the essence of and the gift of being human is pretty awesome. So creating a show around that, I'm excited to do that. And talk about Tiffany Schlane. We are working together, launching.
You just
We
sent
are
me
here.
an email, didn't you?
I
haven't
did.
looked
I
at it yet, but I
invited
saw your,
you.
what is it? Talk to me. What's going
So
on?
here we go. Like for the elections, which however you voted, I mean, for half of us, it wasn't the results we wanted. And it was very, it was very close. It was very close, 49%, 48%. And so we're looking at lifting up the other half and reminding everyone that we are here. So I'm really excited that with both Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, Tiffany Schlane, the Let It Ripple team, that we are launching We Are Here gatherings on Inauguration Day and MLK, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day on January 20th, that we're going to bring some light and love and connection and feature some of Tiffany's amazing films and using those as a jumpstart to start talking with each other and connecting and exploring like how we're going to show up with each other and all this, because it is going to be a lot. But I do, the pendulum swings both ways, right? So there's a lot of light within the darkness, and all you need is that spark. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to jump into my next big thing and really continue to cultivate community and cohorts for social justice and equity for all. And let's bring in the creative juices with that. Let's make music. Let's make art. Let's help restore and support and redefine what it means to support the arts too, because it's so important, and it's disheartening when you see it being taken away in so many ways. So that's what I'm looking at in 2025. Grace and ease, love and joy, no harm to others. It's going to be a pretty powerful year.
Amazing. How do people follow you? How do they follow you? How do they connect?
So you can connect with me you can email me at elisa@cjanedo.com. Also check out the stories of the incredible people that I've been able to connect with and highlight through C. Jane Do over the years. That's cjanedo.com. And also stay connected on LinkedIn as well, and on Instagram, Elisa C. Jane Do.
Perfect. And for everybody that's watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put the links in the show notes, so you can just click on the link and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, new thought leaders, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Elisa, I think I'm still allowed to say Happy New Year 7 days after. I don't know. Like
you can say Happy New Year. I'm going to be
happy New Year then. And it's so good to see you. And thank you for coming back on.
You too, Adam. Thanks so much.